Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Anmol Fatma. I am a foundation level student at Rehan School F campus. My ChatGPT. My topic. Sorry, not sorry. Let's start it. Hello, ChatGPT. Can I listen me?
Absolutely. You can start by introducing the phrase sorry, not sorry. Maybe mention how it's become a modern cultural expression, often used with a mix of confidence or defiance. Then you could outline a few examples from social media, pop culture, or even everyday conversations. After that, you can discuss its evolution, how it shifted from just a sassy retort to a kind of empowerment phrase. Does that structure sound good to you?
ChatGPT. Today I have some four questions for you. Can we start it?
Of course. Go ahead and ask your questions, and I'll do my best to help you out. What do you want to know or discuss first?
My first question. What do the phrase "sorry, not sorry" means?
Great question. So the phrase sorry, not sorry is basically a way of apologizing, but with a twist. It often implies that the person doesn't really regret what they did. They're just saying sorry out of politeness or irony. It's kind of like a confident shrug, acknowledging a small wrong, but also standing by the action.
My next question. When did this phrase become popular?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. It started becoming popular in the early 2000s, especially with social media and celebrities. People like Beyonce or Miley Cyrus used it, and it kind of caught on as a bold, unapologetic attitude. So it grew with that cultural shift toward being confident and owning your choices.
My next question. Why do people say "sorry, not sorry"?
Yeah, so people say sorry, not sorry for a couple of reasons. Sometimes it's a way to reclaim power. They're acknowledging they did something that others might see as wrong, but they don't feel guilty. Other times it's a way to set a boundary, basically saying, I'm sorry you're upset, but I'm not changing my stance. It's kind of a power move in a conversation.
So my next question is so my next question is my next question is it a real apologize or not?
That's a really good point. It kind of depends on the situation. In some cases, people use it when they don't feel genuine remorse. So it's more about setting a tone or a boundary. But in other situations, it can be a playful or sarcastic way to acknowledge a small offense without actually feeling sorry. So it's all about context.
So my next question, how is it different from smile saying sorry?
Good comparison. So when you just say sorry, it's a straightforward, sincere apology. You're expressing regret. But sorry, not sorry flips that script. It sounds like an apology, but it's actually a subtle refusal to regret. So it adds that extra layer of confidence or defiance.
So my next question, what message does this phrase send?
Yeah, absolutely. You can say something like, I'm excited to see how this phrase continues to evolve, especially with the rise of social media influencers and online culture. And then you can tie it back to how people use it to express empowerment or just a shift in tone. That would wrap up the idea nicely.
So my next question, why is this phrase common on social media?
Great question. So it's really popular on social media because it kind of encapsulates this bold, unapologetic attitude that people love to share. Influencers and celebrities started using it to own their choices. So it quickly became a catchphrase for self confidence and not caring about others' judgments.
So my next question, can sorry not sorry be considered rude?
Yeah, it definitely can be. In some cases, people use it to express a real frustration or a real boundary. They're not just being sarcastic, they actually mean it. So even though it often comes off as flippant, there are times when it can be a straightforward, real expression of how someone feels.
So my next question is sorry. So my next question is what uh, situation? My next question is what situation is the co- commonly commonly used?
I see what you mean. Yeah, so it's commonly used in things like online debates or when someone posts something that might offend others. They might say sorry, not sorry, as a way of standing their ground. It's also pretty common in casual conversations between friends, kind of when you playfully acknowledge something but you're still confident in your stance.
So my next question: does this phrase show confidence?
Yeah, it really can. I mean, when people say sorry, not sorry, it often shows they're standing their ground, they're not backing down. So it's got this built in confidence because it says, I know what I did, and I'm okay with it.
So my next question, can it sometimes sound original?
Yeah, it can, especially if it's used in a really flippant or dismissive way. It might come off as insincere or even hurtful. So the tone and context really matter. If it's not clear, it can seem like you don't care at all.
So my next question, why do people use homo things this phrase?
Yeah, that's a great observation. People often use it because it's a way to assert themselves without being overly harsh. So it can be empowering. They get to express themselves and set a boundary while still being playful. It's kind of a shorthand for confidence in a conversation.
So my next question, is it is used differently? Is different community?
Yeah, absolutely. So different communities can adapt it in unique ways. For example, on professional networks, it might come off as more assertive, while on casual social media, it's often just a joke or a sassier comment. So the meaning kind of shifts depending on the group and the context.
So my next question, can this phrase hurt someone's feelings?
Yeah, it definitely can, especially if it's used in a sensitive moment or a real conflict. Even though it's sometimes meant to be funny or bold, if the other person's expecting a sincere apology, it can come off as dismissive or even hurtful. So it's really important to be mindful of the situation.
So my next question, what are some examples of us seeing it in daily life?
Yeah, for sure. So an example might be if someone shares a bold opinion online and then they say sorry, not sorry, like they're not backing down. Or maybe if a friend cancels plans and says sorry, not sorry because they needed a break. It's really just that quick phrase that signals confidence even after a small disruption.
So my next question, how do friends assume?
Of course. So I think you've got a
So
solid foundation. You can now
so
walk through those examples in your presentation, explain the tone, and maybe give a few personal or current examples to make it feel more real. If
so
you need any tweaks or more examples, just let me
so
know.
my next question, how do friends actually reach to it?
Ah, good question. So often friends use it in a playful or teasing way. For example, if one friend skips a workout or changes plans, they might say sorry, not sorry, kind of jokingly. It helps them keep light but still express their feelings or choices clearly.
So my next question, why do trends in language spread so equally today?
Yeah, that's a really interesting shift. I think it happens because language is always evolving. It adapts to how people express themselves, especially with social media. So phrases like this kind of come up as people try to assert themselves or break out of old language norms.
So my next question is sorry not sorry a modern slang slang slang
Yeah,
expression.
it really is. I mean, sorry, not sorry kind of fits right into that wave of modern slang. It's short, catchy, and it flips traditional apology on its head. So it really reflects how language today is about being bold and confident, but also quick and digital.
So my next question, how was the meaning change over time?
Yeah, it really does. So originally, an apology was just about showing regret, but now with sorry, not sorry, it's almost like a reclaiming of that power. It's a way to acknowledge something without losing your stance. So the meaning shifts from just a polite regret to a confident assertion.
So my next question, do the praise relax relate changing attitude toward apologize?
Yeah, it can. So instead of just saying I'm sorry, which might feel passive, sorry, not sorry really shifts the attitude. It's like a refusal to be overly apologetic. You're being upfront and you're not minimizing yourself. So it's a way to stand firm and not erase your confidence.
So my next question, why do some people dislike this phrase?
Yeah, that's a good point. Some people dislike it because it can come off as insincere or dismissive. If someone is genuinely hurt, that phrase might feel like a brush off, or like their feelings aren't being taken seriously. So for some, it feels a bit cold or arrogant.
So my next question, can it be used for positivity?
Yeah, it can be actually. Sometimes people use it to celebrate a choice they're proud of, like, sorry, not sorry, I took that risk, or sorry, not sorry, I'm living my truth. So, in that sense, it can be used to express unapologetic positivity and confidence.
So my next question, what emotional are asling beneath it?
Yeah, that's really true. The phrase can be emotionally charged because it kind of signals a mix of defiance and self acceptance. So, when people hear it, they might feel like there's a personal boundary being set. Sometimes that's empowering, but sometimes it can be a bit jarring if emotions are running high.
So my next question, is it more common online or offline?
Yeah, definitely online. It's really common in digital spaces. People often use it in comments, posts, or captions to assert themselves or set a boundary without having to be overly formal. So it's kind of a shortcut to expressing that emotional stance quickly.
So my next question, how do moments confidence confi, con,
Ah, great question. So when people use sorry, not sorry, it's often a way of showing they're owning their decisions. They're not shrinking back. By using the phrase, they kind of signal to themselves and others that they're secure in their choices. So it's a small but really effective boost to confidence.
So my next question, can this phrase be misunderstanding?
Yeah, definitely. Because it's kind of sarcastic or ambiguous, some people might misinterpret it as insensitivity or even rudeness. So, depending on the tone or the situation, it can be misunderstood as cold or dismissive, even if that's not the intent.
So my next question is honestly. So my next question is honestly more important than poli, po, politics.
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation. Honesty is really important for building trust and being authentic, but politeness also helps maintain respect and smooth communication. Ideally, you balance both, being truthful but also kind and respectful.
So my next question: why do tone of voice affect its means?
Yeah, exactly. The tone is huge because it changes how the words are received. If you say something with a light, confident tone, it might feel playful or assertive. But if it's harsh or dismissive, even a positive phrase like this can seem rude or cold.
So my next question: are there similar phrases in our language?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of languages have phrases like this, where an apology is combined with a subtle defiance. For example, in some cultures, people might say something like, desculpa, mas não sinto muito in Portuguese, or similar phrases in other languages. They all reflect that balance between acknowledging something but not fully apologizing.
So my next question: how was social media changing the way people apologize?
Yeah, it's really changed a lot. Social media lets people share apologies instantly, but also in a really public way. So sometimes apologies feel rushed or performative, and other times people really try to be more open and accountable, but it's all about how it's framed and received.
Okay, so my next question: what are the advice advice of asking this praise?
Yeah, good advice would be to really think about your audience and tone. If you're using it, make sure it fits the context. If you're being playful, that's fine, but if it's a big deal, maybe stick to a sincere apology. And also be ready for different reactions. Some people might love it, others might need more reassurance.
So my next question: should people be careful when asking it?
Yeah, absolutely. People should be really mindful because depending on the situation, it can come off as dismissive or even defensive. So it's best to use it when it's truly appropriate and when the situation calls for it.
So my next question, how do so my next
Take
question
your time. If
sorry,
you
so my next question, why do parents and teachers view these prayers?
that's a great question. So parents and teachers often see it as a bit of a red flag because it can come off as flippant or like the person isn't really taking responsibility. So if a student uses it, they might feel like they're avoiding a real apology, which can trigger some concern.
So my next question, does it defines inevitability and independence?
Yeah, exactly. So, in a way, it does define a kind of independence because the person is saying, I don't feel the need to apologize for my choice. But at the same time, it can be misunderstood. So, it's kind of a balancing act between asserting yourself and still being responsible.
So my next question, is it a trend that will last or independent?
That's a really good question. I think it might stick around for a while, especially as language evolves with social media. But at the same time, as new phrases come up, it might shift or fade. So, it could be a lasting trend or it might be replaced by something new in a few years.
So my next question, what is your personal optioning about sorry not sorry?
Yeah, for me, I think it's a pretty clever phrase when used intentionally. I like that it lets people own their choices, but I also think it's really important to be mindful. Like, you don't want to accidentally hurt someone or come off as dismissive. So I think it's a tool, but it needs to be used carefully.
So my next question, what was the original purpose of an apology?
Yeah, so the original purpose of an apology was really about showing genuine regret, taking responsibility, and repairing trust. It was meant to be a sincere expression of sorrow and a step toward making things right. So, sorry,
Oh,
not sorry, kind of twists that idea by not fully leaning into that reality.
so my next question, how was the meaning of apologies changing over time?
Yeah, so over time, apologies have really evolved. At first, they were super formal, often tied to respect or responsibility. But now, with digital culture, they can be short, even sarcastic, and sometimes they're more about saving face than showing true regret. So the meaning has really broadened and shifted.
So my next question, can sorry not sorry be seen as a form of revolution?
Yeah, it actually can. I mean, by rejecting a traditional apology, it's kind of a small act of rebellion. People using it say, I'm not going to shrink back or feel guilty for who I am or what I chose. So, in that sense, it can be a quiet form of asserting independence.
So my next question, what makes this phrase memorable?
Yeah, I think part of what makes it memorable is that it's unexpected. It flips a traditional social script and it's catchy, so it stands out. Plus, it's kind of bold and defiant, which makes it stick in people's minds and feel relevant to how we express ourselves today.
So my next question, can it be used to define define personal choice?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the big reasons people use it. It's a way to say, I made this decision and I'm standing by it. So it's like a verbal declaration of personal agency, not asking for permission, just owning your choices.
So my next question, can it be a single of self confidence?
Yeah, absolutely. When used with the right tone, it really does signal confidence. It's like a quick, sharp affirmation that you're not backing down. So for a lot of people, they use it as a signal of self assuredness and strength.
So my next question: why do some people find it funny?
Yeah, that's a good point. Some people find it funny because it plays with expectations. It's a bit ironic or sarcastic, so it catches people off guard. It's kind of like a wink or a knowing nod. So in casual conversation, it can be used to get a little laugh or just lighten the mood.
So my next question: why do circumplace are rule circumplace are rule in this prayer?
Ah, that's really interesting. So sarcasm and circumvention kind of go hand in hand. They let people avoid a direct apology or responsibility, but still acknowledge something. So by being sarcastic or indirect, people sidestep a traditional rule, often keeping things in a kind of playful tension rather than fully owning the apology.
So my next question: why this praise have become popular without social media?
Yeah, it really took off on social media because it's super concise and bold. People love using it in captions, comments, and memes. Basically, it's a quick way to grab attention, express confidence, or even just poke fun at yourself. So it spreads really well in those fast paced online spaces.
So viewer, this is my chat GPT. Hope you like it and meet you. See you in my next video. Pakistan Zindabad. Khuda Hafiz.